Yeah, so about us, of course, we also want to introduce ourselves. So we're three coaches from different companies. My name is Sam, and with me today we have, of course, Shiva and Manuel. And what we want to make clear is that we're not like providing like a clear training. So this is not some kind of training, but we of course want to share our knowledge and our experience and make you hungry perhaps for more and see how that will help you, and we'll be happy to get feedback from you guys. And as we also started to work as freelancers, we're happy to also work with you guys. If there's anything that you say, hey, we can be of help, let us know. And yeah, go to our homepage, agilebyexperience.com, and get in touch, and we'll be happy to work with you. Okay, so today, what do we have in the store? So of course, we will start with what a conflict is to really clarify, hey, when are we talking about conflicts and when are we talking about a fight or like an argument or what? So really clarify a conflict. Then we also want to know like your experiences with conflict. So what have you already like experienced in the past? Unfortunately, of course, because it's like something that we don't want to experience, but most of the time it happens, and then we of course need to know how to deal with it. And that's also why we're gonna share like our technique on how to solve a conflict. Manuel, let's go to the question.
Yes, we were thinking to get started with you and what comes to your mind when we say conflict. So we are proposing this word cloud to see what words come to your mind when you think of conflict. So feel free to go to menti.com, use this code. We can see what you get or what we get when we say conflict, right? You can use your phone or your computer, anything will work. You can enter any word. I mean, any number of words you may like.
That's a lot of different things. Yeah, I see misunderstanding coming out there, disagreement, point of view. These three seem to be pretty big. Yeah. Also, a lot of things which are uneasy, unclear. I'm guessing that's the same as misunderstanding. Interesting. I see empathy, rules, inefficiency, tension. Yes, a lot of it.
And I guess there's a couple I saw flying around, like here, resignation. I guess that when taken to this stream, may lead people to think of leaving the company altogether.
Yeah, so there's also flight, there's leave, and yes, all of them are very similar. Yeah. Okay, this is great. So
also kind of natural that all has like a negative color, right?
Very much, yes. Yeah.
Game over discussion is like really interesting. Good. Let's continue.
Wonderful. So that's exactly what we were thinking. So what is a conflict? It means so many things for so many people. So what we wanted to do is make it very clear and concise on what we think is conflict, because it can be very big and there's a lot that we could talk about. So for us, for the sake of this workshop, we're defining conflict as a disagreement between two people or two groups. And the disagreement could be either on the goals, that is where you want to reach, or the ways to do it. So it can be disagreements on the goals or on the ways. That's what we're thinking. For the purpose of this presentation, we are going to be focusing on professional conflicts. Obviously, you can try this for also personal conflicts, but our focus for today would be on professional conflicts. Okay, now that we've told you exactly what we are going to be focusing on today, we want to also now look at what is your experiences with conflicts. How often do you face conflicts? Where do you face conflicts? So these are two things that we also want to know, because so you could go to Menti and then you could decide to really vote on this. Do you never face a conflict, or do you always face a conflict? And in between this, and with whom do you face conflicts? Is it with management, or is it with colleagues, or is it with other teams? So just go to menti.com and you could start voting on this. With my team or with other teams? Very little with my boss. Okay, that's interesting. Sam, can you just put the code into the chat, please? Thank you.
I was thinking if, I don't know what's your experience, Shiva, or what do you think about this one? I was thinking if less conflict with my boss means really less conflict, or is my boss, so I don't want to create a conflict, so I'm going to solo whatever I think is happening, right? I guess or people tend to be more free to have, let's say, a more open conflict with colleagues and colleagues in other teams, and then maybe with your boss you kind of keep things calm, right?
Possible, yeah, that could be one way of interpreting that as well. But what's interesting is that all of us, there's never a never, right? So all of
Yeah,
us have these conflicts in some way or the other.
yeah,
And that's nice. And that just takes us to the next slide, I'm guessing, Manuel.
sure.
Here we go. And this comes from a study. And here, what we found out, that's coming from the CPP Global Human Capital Report. What we find out is that more than 85% of the employees have dealt with conflict or some way or the other. 25% say that they deal with conflict all the time or frequently. Interestingly, according to the study, in 56% of people in Germany say that they always or frequently have conflicts. That's very, very interesting. What happens because we have conflicts? There could be problems at three levels, and that's why it's nice that we also saw it the way we look at it. If it's a personal level, then generally it's all about personal attacks on each other, feeling uncomfortable working with another person, being demotivated. You try to avoid people, and this conflicts could also have an impact at team level, where we're talking about reduced sense of team, where you don't feel like you're working with one team. Um, you're not able to collaborate, cooperate well. And then obviously this could also mean a lot for the organization, where it could mean attrition, it could mean project failures, it could also mean a lot of wasted resources. So what these people at CPP Global did was they tried to find out how much time do we spend on conflicts and conflict resolution. They figured out that on an average, we spend like 2 hours a week on conflict resolution per person. And they calculated that with the average wages, and this is the figure they came up with. Around 385 million working days were spent a year dealing with conflicts in the US. Obviously, it is a survey, but it also tells us that it's a very, very important part of our work life. There's quite a lot that happens, and it's important to address conflicts. Okay, so we established what a conflict is. We figured out that every one of us are part of conflicts, and we're also establishing the fact that conflicts have a big impact. So the question is, how do we deal with conflicts? So that's the next slide. So how do we handle conflicts? And one thing that we want to really figure out here is that conflicts just don't vanish. We need to manage conflicts. They just don't go away. And this is wonderful metaphor from George Kohlreiser. He is a professor of leadership at IMD Switzerland, and what he said was, one of the ways to deal with conflict is to put the fish on the table. What does that mean? So what he said was, he was doing this some work with a company in the Mediterranean coast, and he went to the beach and he saw the fishermen bringing in the fish. And what they were doing is that they brought the fish in, and there was a table. They put the fish on the table, and all of them started cleaning it up. So it was a lot of work, but once they cleaned the fish, it became ready for a meal. And it stuck him, and that's a very famous metaphor that is used quite a lot. That how do you handle conflicts? By putting it onto the table. A lot of times what we try to do is we try to put our conflicts, our fish, below the table, under the table, and we just hope that it will go away. But what happens is that, like fish, our conflicts rot, they start smelling, and there's no way we can avoid it. It just become worse. So instead, what he says is that pull the conflicts from below the table, put it onto the table. It's not going to be easy. It's going to be messy. It's going to be a lot of dirty work, but you're going to go and clean it. And once you do that, you're probably going to have some good fish for dinner. So you're going to have relationships that will last forever. So we really want to encourage you to use this, as an organization to put the fish on the table. But it's very easy to say this, very difficult to do. And so what we're trying to do is give you a simple technique here on one of the ways in which you could really handle conflicts. So it is simple, it's easy to remember, and the idea here is that you focus on communication and on alignment. This could be useful with a lot of conflicts, but it's also possible that this doesn't work for you for some of the conflicts. So we want to just present this to you as a technique which we want you to try and then see how that goes with you. Manuel, over to you.
Yes, sure. So as Shiva said, I'm going to start my video so you can see who's speaking. Good. As Shiva said, this is 3 steps. And the first step is about reflecting. And I was thinking when Shiva was speaking, how this is linked to the work cloud that we build up together, because there was a lot of communication words, and this is based on the premises that many conflicts are because of lack of communication, right? Communication issues. So the first step is about how you see the conflict from your point of view, reflect on it, don't rush into, let's say, conclusions or trying to solve it or face it, but just a little bit of reflection, right? Second step is about identify key information, who is involved, what do they want, and finally align and try to align these actors, right? But we're going to show you, I'm going to show you an example, and it's a real example that happened to me. So we say, okay, the first step is about reflect on the conflict, right? So you just need to write down the conflict as you see it, put all the information together, try to clarify and have a calm, high-level vision, right? My story is about when I was working on an audit team. So I'm the auditor, we are a team. We need to go through our checklist and check every item, right? And then this conflict comes with the development team. There's a developer who is, let's say, the key point here, creating this conflict. And then the conflict is also going between two teams, right? So what I did, I said, okay, I'm going to do the first step. I'm going to write it down, put all this information together, have a clear and calm view. So I say, okay, I'm part of the audit team. I need to audit this software team by May, so the company can qualify for this XYZ regulation that allows selling our product to governments, right? This is a multi-million euro opportunity. The audited team becomes more difficult. There's no collaboration. Valeria, this developer, starts challenging us all the time. Making progress is difficult, and at some point some of the team were subject to verbal abuse, some comments during meetings. Morale is low, progress is slow, things are not really moving forward. And I did exactly this, just sitting there, writing down, reflecting who is involved, what's the whole picture. And this is the first step, not jump into any action, not jump into conclusions, but put everything together there. I don't know if there's any questions so far. Good. If not,
Something to
yeah.
add. So you don't have to do that yourself, right? You can like get some help and like have a sparring partner to say, I've been having this conflict and I need somebody to like think with me about it. So I mean, of course, you can do it like on your own, like at your desk and write it down. But it also might help to have like some coach or just like some friend or partner, like a guy person that you work with, and saying, hey, I'm trying to deal with this conflict. Like, can you just like help me asking questions or stuff to like, not like be on your own, but like have somebody who will help you a bit.
And it's important, this step seems trivial, seems like you say, oh yeah, I know what's going on here, let's do what we need to do. But having all the information together is super important, and you're going to see on the second and third step how it works, right? So this was the situation. That's the, let's say, the real story of this first step, right? So I was sitting there. I also asked a couple of guys from the team to see if I'm missing something, and I just get a piece of paper and start writing everything, right? This is the first step on the conflict resolution, just reflect on the conflict. The second step is, as we said, identify this key information, these key players first, their goals and their ways to achieve the goals, right? So again, it's a little bit of a reflection exercise. So first you start with who is involved. Okay, could be me, could be the other person. The big conflict is between us, but I also start thinking, okay, but also my team is involved. Oh, the software development team, and I can go on and go on. I can say, okay, Valeria's boss, I can say development manager, and I can start reflecting on who's involved, right? The more obvious was me and her, but then you can keep building and reflecting who's involved. The second step is, what are their goals? So you say, okay, I'm involved. What are my goals? Well, my goal is to finish the audit by May. I need this to be done by May because we need to apply in May. So if it's not done, we can't apply, and then we lose money or we lose an opportunity, right? What is my other goal? Well, have all the supporting documents. When I'm doing the audit, I need to get proofs, let's say. So it's not enough someone telling me, yes, I do this or I do that. I need a screenshot, I need a picture, I need a copy of the papers. So I need all these called supporting documents, right? In the same way, I reflect, or following this technique, you reflect on, okay, what are the goals of the other person here on this conflict? Well, her goals are, she wants to finish her project, she wants to win the team recognition, probably she wants to be promoted, right? She wants many things, and you can keep doing with all of them, all the actors, right? Or all the people involved here. But the very minimum is where the main conflict is, right?
Manuel,
Mm-hmm.
do you suggest that we do this together with them, or is this something that you do on your own and then work with them on this?
This is something that you do on your own.
Mm-hmm.
So I did this on my own and basically created this very same table here. So I wrote my name here, her name here, and I started to add my goals, her goals.
Okay.
And you can also keep going, but the very minimum is these two, right? So it's a bit of a reflection, right?
Mm-hmm.
I'm organizing the information. So I say, okay, I'm involved. These are my goals. She's involved. These are her goals. And then the last part of this step is to say, okay, how I'm going to achieve this goal? What are my ways to achieve the goals? So I keep going horizontally here and say, okay, to achieve these two goals, I need to do meetings to collect this evidence, right? I need to do visits to the workplace to look for evidence and take pictures. Fine, these are my ways. I need to do blind checks, meaning I ask Shiva, but then I need to go to Sam and ask the very same question to see if both answers are the same, let's say, right? Everything I need to ask 2 times because this is the procedure, right? So I go to Sam and I ask for a certain document, but then a week later, I need to go again and ask for the same document to see if I receive the same, right? So these are my ways to achieve my goal, right? Some are more flexible, some are, as in this example, because of the procedure, right? But still, I just clarify, I write down everything, right? And I do the same for her. I have a conflict with this person. I think that these are her goals. And then how is she trying to achieve these goals? What are the ways that she's using to achieve the goal, to finish the project, to be promoted, to win the team recognition? Okay, she's focusing only on her project. She's taking sides with her team, always, let's say, taking sides with the team. She's focusing on her objectives as given by her team lead. So hopefully she can be promoted. And you start reflecting, okay, what she's doing to achieve this. So this is the second step, using the previous reflection and adding a couple of more things that you observe. You put all this information together, right? I don't know if there's any open question, or Shiva, Sam, you want to add something?
I mean, I was just thinking when you were talking, so what you're doing now is putting yourself in somebody else's shoes and thinking, how are they looking at conflict? So basically, you're empathizing.
Yeah,
So you're getting a different point of view. But even now, what you're doing is you're preparing the ground and you're not actually addressing it. So that's going to be another step, right?
exactly. Now you are preparing the ground. And why you're doing this? Because we said it's about alignment, right? But you want to align the goals and the ways to achieve the goals, right? So let's see what happens next. On the second step is about align, and this is where you take action, right? This is where you actually open the fish, as you said before, right? So the conflict starts because the goals or the ways to achieve those goals are not aligned. So you need to align the goals. That's why in the previous steps, you spend some time reflecting on them. and you need to align the ways of achieving the goals. So that's why you also spend some time trying to reflect and seeing, okay, what is this, right? So how do you align the goals? First, you need to make them clear. And I realized that wasn't clear at all in my example, right? I just went and said, morning, we are here for the audit. And that's a wrong approach. It's good morning, we are here doing the audit to achieve this certification so we can sell our software to governments and we can make 50 million next month. That's the goal, and that's what I need to make clear, but I didn't. That's why the conflict started, right? Because the goals were not clear. Also, you need to put them in context, moving up on the organizational pyramid if necessary, because you have personal goals. The other person has also their personal goals, but at some point you share the same project, or if you keep going, you share the same department, or if you keep going anyways, you're going to share the company, right? So maybe you don't share personal goals, fine. Then you need to be clear on what the goals at a higher level are, because at some point you're going, you and the person having the conflict are going to share an space, let's say. So then the goals needs to be shared, right? So in this case, it is saying, okay, I'm doing this to help the company to achieve the certification, right? So that needs to be clear. And then me and this person, well, both belong to the same company, and we have this shared goal, which is achieve the certification, right? Of course, this seems obvious, the third point, but when you are aligning this, you need to share this alignment, right? This is not only in your head, right? So you need to have a meeting, you need to have a chat, you need to send an email, but you need to make sure that all this alignment is happening, and it's happening all the time. It's not that, oh, I sent an email 20 years ago, that should be fine. Well, no, it's a little bit more of that. Yes, Shiva.
Question here. I was wondering, when you're doing this meeting, do you share your personal goals, or do you look at what is common or a similarity, and then that's going to be your focus basically?
Well, I share my personal goals and I put them in context, in the company context as here, right? So saying, okay, when...
So it's more like I want to audit because this is important for the organization.
Exactly, but not just it's important because it's important, but saying we need in May to apply for this certification, and if we do it, then we have this business opportunity of 50 million, right? And then brings more clarity, put things in context, why you are doing, what's the impact, and then it's a little bit more clear, right? But also your personal, more, let's say, smaller goals, right? So then I was explaining, or I was saying, okay, I go and ask Shiva for this document, and later I go and ask Sam for the same document. I'm doing this because I need to achieve this blind technique. So this needs to be done as a procedure, otherwise we won't pass the certification. So I need to ask for the same document twice to two different persons, right? And explaining I'm doing X to achieve Y, right? So in my context, but also as it says here, in a more common, bigger context, right?
Okay. Yeah. So you're explaining the why behind what you're doing. So that
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. And then when I'm doing this alignment, also I ask what their goals are. So, right, if their goals are the same, most probably the conflicts are on the ways of achieving the goals, right? And also ask for help to accomplish my goals, but also offer help to accomplish their goals. And when I was doing this, something happened, interesting started to happen, right? Because they say, okay, to be, I remember one conversation over a coffee, say, the other day you said about doing this blind technique. I didn't know that was the technique. I thought that you didn't trust me, so you need to go and ask my colleague for the same document because you don't trust me. And these kind of things starts getting much more clear, and these kind of things starts getting more understand between the two people, and then that's where the conflict starts to go away, right?
Yeah, so basically, we're getting rid of assumptions here.
Yes, at some point, yes, misunderstandings. It was a lot about that, right?
Yeah. Okay.
And then also the ways to achieve the goals. That is was what I already started mentioning, right? So I have a goal, but I have a way to achieve it, right? The goal is to finish the certification by May, and the way to achieve it is, for example, doing this blind documentation, asking 2 times for the same things, or these kind of things, right? So how to align the ways of achieving the goal. State and clarify timelines and dependencies. It's not that we are doing this today because we want your project to fail, but we are doing this today because next month, May, we need to present this to get the certification to get the 50 million euro contract, right? So that is important to clarify the way of achieving the goal. Clarify all the limitations that you have, clarify all the assumptions, as you said, Shiva, and then ask for suggestions. And when we started doing this, the first thing that we did was sending an email and saying, okay, guys, after some time working together, a couple of weeks, whatever, there were some problems, there were some clashes here. So we want to kind of restart this. I'm doing this audit because, and I put all the information together and I clarify that, right? Explaining who's driving it, what's the outcome, what's the impact, the process involved, taking evidence in the following way, explaining clearly why we are doing things in the way we are doing, right? And clarifying limitations that we had, right? This is a state by the law, we can't change it. So if we ask 2 times for the same thing, it's the way it is. There's nothing we can do this, right? Or we can change it. So we started sending this email. On every meeting, we were refreshing the process. We were sharing with them. And also I sit with this girl, with Valeria, share all this information with her besides the email, and say, okay, I want your suggestion how we can help each other, right? And that was interesting because, as I said before, she told me a couple of interesting things that were all rooted on this miscommunication and misalignment on the goal and the ways to achieve the goal, right? And as I said, she was telling me, for example, oh, I thought that you were asking 2 times because you don't trust us. So you ask me for something and then you go and ask my colleague the same thing, and I can hear. And what I'm hearing is, oh, you don't trust me. So you think I'm just bullshitting here. So you need to ask my colleague. Oh, so then now this is more clear. And now I understand what you are asking 2 times for the same thing. And then I was clear, or I was, as Shiva said before, having this empathy and trying to sit on her shoes and say, okay, how can I help you? And then we agree. And then she said, well, instead of coming every day to ask for random things, why don't we free up Friday morning and we do all the documentation. We sit a couple of hours with your team and we work on this, and then we just focus one day. Okay, fine, that's something I can do. And then I work the rest of the week with that documentation. That's something we can do, right? Instead of going random days. So that helped us to align the way to achieve the goal. My goal is still the same. I'm just changing the way to achieve it. Where I can change, which is the dates and times. I can't change. There's no way I can change. Is the way to get the evidence. So I need 2. There's no way I can get less than 2. So we are still going to ask twice for the same thing, but instead of during the week, we are going to have a big meeting Friday. So we all sit together, work on this, and then the rest of the week is free for you, right? I'm flexible there. So in this alignment step, we clarify a lot of things. We clarify a lot of things with her and the team. I can't say that we are best friends. No, for sure not. But I can say that we work together much better. The conflict went away. We finished this on time, and we moved forward. Everyone was happy, and I can't imagine, without dealing with this conflict, how this could have been ended, right? The situation in 2 weeks went so bad that we really wanted to finish this. I mean, it was a pain to go to work with this team. And then we did this, things changed completely, and was a complete different experience, right? And it was really easy, right? Just these 3 steps, and things went much better.
Just one thing that when you were sharing that came to my mind is what you also did was invite the person to help you, and also ask for feedback on what the other person can do to help. I think that was really important as well, right? When we really look at the conflict.
Yes. When aligning, asking for help, and also offering my help, that was very important. That also shows that, okay, I'm not just blind doing what I need to do. I also take into account your needs and what do you need, right? And she said, well, I need to finish my project. I want to focus on my project. So if you are here Monday to Friday asking random questions, this is not helping us. And then that gets me mad and gets the rest of the team mad. So help me. And then it was easy for me, right, to say, yes, we can help. I leave you 4 days free, and then we only are around Fridays or mornings, whatever, right? But on the alignment, it's also a lot about give and take, right?
Totally, yeah.
I don't know if anybody has any question.
So there are no questions in the chat, but if there are questions, please speak up.
Also, as we were saying before, it's a lot about, I mean, this is a kind of a super simple technique. It's a lot about reflection and communication. It's not going to solve every single conflict you have in your life, no, but it's going to solve a good deal of them. And also it's kind of easy, right? And it's something, when we were doing this word clouds, there were a lot of words about communication, about alignment, about understanding each other, right? And this hopefully achieves that, helps on this side. There's something that I tend to hate, which is the word escalation. This is something that you do with the person or the team, or probably the person involved. There's no way, there's no need to go to any boss. There's no need to go to any manager. There's no need to go to any HR to say, oh, this person is not collaborating or whatever, right? It's all in your hands. It's just 3 simple steps. It's a lot about reflection, but then it's a lot about communication and working together, right? This leaves all the power to solve the conflict in your hands. It's not, I need to go to complain to my boss, she's not helping. No, and then my boss is going to solve this conflict. nothing about that. It's all in your hands. You just follow the steps, and hopefully the conflict is going to be managed, right?
Yeah, and also it gets worse if you don't handle it, right? I mean, for example, let's say I have a conflict with Manuel, and then, it goes on my mind, and then perhaps I go to Shiva and say, Shiva, Manuel, like, he's not doing what I want, and like, it's going all wrong, and, like, it's not helping if I talk to Shiva about Manuel, if I have a conflict with Manuel, right? So, and then perhaps at night you can't sleep because you think about like, it's not working, like, how can I do it? And then, it gets worse because it keeps you from like doing your job, it keeps you from, sleeping, I don't know. So, I mean, of course, it's difficult to like talk with the person about the conflict, but if you prepare it and you like, you set up a certain way of, what to do, then it helps you to start the conversation and to deal with it instead of just trying to think about it or like talk with somebody else about it. So as difficult as it is, it's also as helpful as it is, because it brings all the topics to the table, and then you deal with it. And the sooner you deal with it, the sooner it will go away, and the sooner you have the nice meal for dinner.
Yeah.
Totally, and I think that's the key. That we're not saying that this is easy, but probably the motivation to do this is going to be what you get at the end. Because living with a conflict is one, rather than doing that. If you can solve your conflicts, it's going to be so much more easier for us. So going back to the metaphor, cleaning the fish is messy, it's dirty, we don't want to do it. But if you're not going to clean it, you're not going to get a good lunch or dinner, right? And so we just want to focus on that to motivate you to say, okay, this is what you get at the end. So it always makes sense for you to, spend some time, ensure that you address your conflict.
Yeah. Yeah. Also, we're thinking, we always try on our Agile Breakfast to share something with everybody here that is hopefully useful and easy, and you can take to the office immediately today and start using it. And this I've used, or we use this many times, and it's powerful in the way that is so simple to do. Doesn't require anything, just requires you sitting 10 minutes quiet and write down all the facts, reflect a little bit, and then say, okay, now we need to align the goal and the ways. And just here you have a couple of tips, but basically is that, right? And this is a real case, and this is just one example of the many real examples that we have applying this and working fine, working successfully, and solving the conflict, right? And as I said before, nothing to do with managers, nothing to do with escalation, nothing to do with some, I don't know, complexities. It's just sitting, reflecting, and organizing a little bit the information. And I think, though I always advise, or we always advise to do this and write down everything as here and organize this step by step. When you keep doing this, this eventually comes out naturally, and you can quickly reflect on it. And just do it naturally. You don't even need to spend time writing, right? I don't know if there's any question. I don't think so.
No, there's one in the chat. So can it be useful to have everyone involved doing the reflection before the alignment phase, or this would be messy?
I would say that is, let's say, a personal activity, and reflect, and the reflection is kind of personal. I was asking, in this particular example, I was asking my colleagues to help me with that, to see if I'm missing something, and put everything together. But I don't know, could be a nice experiment, but I wouldn't advise the first time you are doing this to involve the other party of the conflict and say, okay, let's reflect on this together, right? I wouldn't advise doing that the first time you are trying this, not even the second.
Yeah, but it might be a nice experiment. I guess we should
Yeah.
try this out once to see how that goes.
Yeah.
Thanks for that. All right, so it looks like we've come to the end. Any more questions that you might have? Okay, so we always wanted to ensure that we finish this in time and have some time for questions from you, also feedback from you on how you're liking the breakfast. Basically, any comments on this? If you also have, if you want to collaborate with us, we're really happy to also do that. So please reach out to us and we'd be happy to help in any ways that we can. So please leave your comments and feedback either on Menti, or if you want to use the chat on Zoom, that's also fine. So that's our way to ensure that we improve every time and bring things that would be helpful for you. So please take some time to just leave some feedback for us and let us know what you think about the whole experience.
Yeah, and as always, we share the presentation, so you will receive an email with the presentation, so you can take a second look and hopefully use it in your work, right?
All right, then. Thank you so much for your time. We will hopefully see you again in another breakfast soon. In March, I guess.
Yeah.
Yes, last week of each month, we have a new breakfast.
All right.
Great.
Thanks
Thank you for joining.
for your feedback, and yeah, have a great day.
See you soon.
Thank you very
Thank
much.
you.
Bye.
Thank you, guys.
Welcome.
Thank you.
Bye.
Have a nice
Thank
day.
you. Bye.
Have a nice day. Bye bye.
Have a nice day, great week. Bye bye.
Thanks. Bye.